Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to today's episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And today our topic is historic. The National Guard and Border Patrol are in the Bay. And how can you prepare, and what do you need to know? And so welcome, and thanks everyone for being here. And I'm grateful to be here with you today, whether you're tuning in right now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, or TikTok. Hello and welcome. Remember, the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration laws and to make the most out of their lives. And even saying that on a day like today, where the National Guard is arriving and Border Patrol are arriving to detain immigrants, it's like, well, Otis, how do you empower immigrants in this situation? Right? Is it actually possible? And I don't know. That's something that I struggle with and will struggle with. But you know something? I'm going to try. And so welcome, and thank you very much for being here. And, I'm grateful to be here. I love immigrants. I love the immigrant community. And I hate what I see happening in the Bay Area today. So thanks to everyone who's here. As I talk about what's happening, if you have questions, please feel free to submit your questions. I will do my best to answer them right here, right now, live. All right? So you've seen it in the news. You probably are seeing protests around it right now. So Trump is deploying Border Patrol and federal troops to come to the Bay Area. All right. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, there's a few different articles that are up about it. Gavin Newsom has threatened to sue the Trump administration about it. The mayor of San Francisco is talking about and has created a plan for how the local agencies within the city are going to respond, right? And there's longstanding agreements that San Francisco and most all of the 6 counties in the Bay Area have sanctuary ordinances. And so what that means is that local city police are not cooperating and do not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. All right, that's not the mandate, and it's not the job of local city police. In fact, local police have said, and local district attorneys have said, that if Border Patrol crosses the line and violates people's constitutional rights and arrests people illegally, that local city police will prosecute, all right, federal officials that cross that line. And so we'll see if that happens, right? There's so much that might happen. A lot of everything in the news is at this point speculative. Like, we don't know whether or not Trump will agree, or whether or not there'll be a lawsuit that actually interferes with or that does something to change the state of the federal troops being deployed. Right now, it is happening. The base of the location is Coast Guard Island, which my office, I could literally walk out onto the street where I am. It's a short walk away, and I could see where they are. All right, and there's actually helicopters and things around where my office is located right now, which is crazy, right? It's happening. And so what can I talk about today, and how could I empower anybody that's actually listening to me right now? You know, we had a client who was detained yesterday. All right, he had a check-in with ICE. It was a routine check-in with ICE, and he went in with our attorney from my firm, also with his pastor, also with 7 people from his church. And despite all of that, ICE detained him. And it is horrible, okay? And it is happening. And so, like, what do you need to know if you are detained? Or what do you need to think through ahead of time? Or what do you need to know just given everything that's happening right now, right? One, it's you've got to know your rights. And 2, you should have a game plan. All right, how can we be empowered? It's like, let's know our rights and let's have a game plan. So know your rights. You have the right to remain silent. All right, I've done several videos about that. You have the right not to open your door. You have the right to not cooperate. You don't have to be, you don't have to be rude about it or be, aggressive about it. In fact, I recommend not being aggressive about it. Not being like, who do you think you are asking me for my documents? It's probably not the right approach. But you could say, hey, officer, I'm sorry, but I will not, or I decide to remain silent. I prefer to remain silent, right? End of story. Like, the way it works is no officer is allowed to arrest another individual unless they have probable cause to do so. And so, like, what is the cause? Right? And if a person remains silent in the officer's presence, then they won't have, and you don't have to literally be silent, although you could. You could carry around the little red cards, which my office has tons of. Feel free to come. We give them away, right? But you can see them. You can see them online. We could put links. We have links in various show notes for those red cards. You could literally hand that over saying nothing. And just say, this card shows that I am choosing to remain silent. Okay? And of course, if you're in your house, you have the right to not open your door. It's also wise to not go to various places where there might be, you don't want to go to a location where Border Patrol agents believe that there's a lot of immigrants that go to that location, and because of that, they'll have probable cause or at least reasonable suspicion to ask people who are showing up at that location. Like, be mindful of things like that. A lot of people say Home Depot. I don't think every Home Depot is in that situation, but and there are some grocery stores perhaps, and there are some locations where where Border Patrol might be targeting those locations. Stay mindful, stay aware, right? Maybe drive around the block a few times before deciding to go to any specific location. It's a fine line, right? It's a fine line. Like, I don't want to promote paranoia or panic, but at the same time, I want to encourage people to be cautious, right? And so I want to share that. Then, in terms of game plan, it's like, think it through calmly and rationally before it happens. Like, if a person were detained, if you or your spouse or somebody who you love were detained, like, what should that person do, and what should your family do ahead of time to prepare in case that were to happen? For example, there is a thing called a power of attorney, right? Imagine somebody is going to work every day and they have a salary that's there. Well, if they're detained, they can't collect their salary check, perhaps. But if you sign a power of attorney and give the power to another person in your life, your spouse maybe, Now your spouse could use that and pick up your salary, all right, if you were detained. Or they could use a power of attorney to handle, to get access perhaps to your bank account, or get access to the financial, to make financial decisions on your behalf while you're detained. Okay, does that make sense? There are also documents that can be signed so that you designate a family member or a friend who could maybe pick up your children from school that day if you were detained, or who could take care of your children if that need were to arise. Okay, those things are good to think through. Also, it's good to think it through, like, do you have a case? If you were detained by ICE, what is the case that we could fight for? Could you fight for asylum? Could you fight for cancellation of removal? Do you have a U visa? Do you have like some option? Are you eligible for adjustment of status? Right? What options do you have to potentially get out of detention, if any? Bond hearings are very, very difficult, but habeas in federal court is possible, right? It's like, do you have a lawyer who you've already retained? Do you want a lawyer? What is your lawyer's plan? What would they do if that were to happen, right? All of these things are possible to think through ahead of time. And I recommend that everybody think that through ahead of time. Okay? That's basically all I wanted to share today. All right? This is happening. It is a scary time. If you are listening to me right now, and if you are a client of my law firm, this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific, at 3 p.m., we have our client call for this month. And I'll be talking a lot more about this and, what could your game plan be and what do you need to know, etc. The other piece about being empowered is being in communication. All right? Be in communication with the people in your life. Be in communication with your attorney. Be in communication with your employer to some degree, right? Be in communication with people who care about you, right? It was really beautiful. It was ugly and horrible that our client got detained yesterday, but it was beautiful that he was there with 7 people from his church, including his pastor, and his wife was also there. It's like, it's like we want to support people. People want to support you, and you want to support others. And like in community, we can resist to some degree, right? And I just wanted to share that. So thank you for being here. If you have questions about your immigration case, or if you have questions about the specifics about anything I've talked about or anything else, please feel free to submit your questions. Let me know what they are. I'll do my best to answer them right here, right now, live. Let's see if any have been submitted. Okay, Keese C, I see your question here. You've been waiting for over 11 months for your decision on your N400 application. What should you do? Yeah, it's a good question. It's not unheard of, right? It's not unheard of. Many N400 cases will take that long. We have seen N400s moving quicker than that. But, you could talk it over with your lawyer. One question is, have you already gone to your interview or not yet? All right? Because if you've already gone to your interview, there are rules in place. There are timelines in place where the government actually has to make a decision on your case. All right? I believe it's 120 days after your interview, they need to have made a decision. And so if that's your situation, then you could actually be in territory where you could file a lawsuit against the government and ask a federal judge to demand that they issue their decision. Okay, but if you haven't had the interview yet, then that's a little bit trickier. You could still, in some instances, file that lawsuit, but at 11 months, it's like you might be within normal processing times, depending on which field office you filed your case in front of. Okay. But great question. So, in other words, Key C, thank you for asking this. I would recommend you talk it through with your lawyer, see what can be done, whether or not you want to file a mandamus to push the N400 case. It might be, you might wait another 6 months or so before doing a mandamus, but maybe right now you could do an inquiry, you could do even a congressional inquiry to do what you can to start pushing your case through. Okay? All right, Julie, I see your question. You say, sir, how hard is it to get admin closure, all right, without a BFD, bona fide determination yet? So am I understanding it right that you have a U visa pending? Okay. And so it looks like maybe if you're talking about a BFD, a bona fide determination, that sounds like a U visa to me. So how hard is it to get admin closure? I mean, it used to be very easy. Admin closure is something. So if you're in immigration court, you can file a motion for admin closure, and it will depend on the judge. Under the first Trump administration, they said basically no more admin closure. Under the Biden administration, they reopened admin closure as a useful tool that judges can use to manage their dockets. Now, the second Trump administration has not taken away admin closure completely. Like, it is still possible, but it's disfavored, right? And so you're gonna need to really see. It's going to go judge by judge, and so how hard is it to get admin closure and with no bona fide determination? I'm just going to tell you, it's hard. Okay, it's not easy. They might very well deny it, and you might need to fight some other case. You can't fight a U visa in court, so you need to have a backup plan, and you should talk that over with your lawyer. All right. Maria Epifania Ahaya. I see your name there. Thank you. You say, hello, attorney. I love watching your videos. A lot of learning. Hey, thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. Eat Zedek 102. You say, I have a question. Since I have a pending case pending for deferred action, do I file for DACA if it opens? So, great question. If there is news, we expect there to be news about DACA by the end of this month. I will be doing webinars, I will be doing live sessions, and I invite you to stay in communication with our office. In order for me to give you that specific advice, one, we got to know what happens first, and then two, we should do a consultation and really figure out the details of your situation. But so what I would say there is probably, if DACA opens and if you're 100% eligible for it, then yes, absolutely. Okay? And if there's restrictions and if there's risk of doing that and if there's any challenge in your immigration case in the past, we want to talk it through carefully, because DACA is a discretionary benefit. The government can approve them and they can also deny them. And if you apply and it's denied, they can put you into deportation proceedings. And so there is going to be some risk, right, even if DACA is reopened for some individuals. And so we're going to want to talk that through carefully. Okay. Tumbleweeds are real. I see your question here. Thank you so much for being here. You say, how long after sending all documents is it acceptable for a lawyer to file a simple AOS case? Thank you. I hate answering this question for other lawyers because I don't know what other lawyers are doing right now. Imagine there's one lawyer that doesn't have staff, right? Imagine a lawyer doesn't have staff and they're just a solo, and they're trying to answer phone calls and they're trying to respond to emails and they're trying to file a case or two and they're trying to represent people in court and prepare their clients and do consultations all in a single day. They're going to be slower. All right? So if your lawyer is a solo practitioner right now, it's like part of it is kind of like you get what you pay for, right? If you've hired a solo and they're struggling and trying to do everything all at once and running around like a chicken with their head cut off, like I was for the first 2 years of running my firm, it's like they're going to be slower, right? It might take them 3 months to finalize your case because they're dealing with so many demands on their time. If, however, you're working with a team, right? And in my firm, we got 26 people. I've got a team designated for AOS cases. We're much quicker. All right, we're diligent. We make sure that we do a good job. We're pros at what we do, but we are much quicker, all right, than the typical small law firm owner. And so that's my answer, right? That's my answer. There's no like one right answer to that question. You know, in our even with our firm being talented and good and all documents in, what it still might take 2-3 weeks, right? Because we do have hundreds. We have 900 actually other cases also, but nevertheless, we are very good at getting an adjustment of status case done, and so if you so yeah, 2 or 3 weeks is very common in my firm once the documents are in. All right, Itzedek, how much is the fee for a DACA application? Let me look that up because it's been a long time. If this is an initial DACA, they may have increased the fees or not. Let me just look. It's the I-821D. And there's two fees, right? There's the DACA itself, and then there's the I-765 fee. Let me see if I can find it quickly. It looks like it's $85 on paper for the I-821D. That's basically the biometrics fee. And then in addition to that, you'll need to pay the 765 fee for the work permit, which I think is like $465. Let's see if I can find it real quick. It might have gone up to $520 for the work permit. Let me confirm that though. C33, I believe it is. I'm not seeing C33. Yeah, I'm not seeing it right quick in front of me. And so I'm just going to say that it's $520 for the work permit plus $85 for the DACA itself. And feel free to, yeah, here it is. In fact, $520 if it's on paper, $470 if it's electronic, plus $85 for the biometrics fee. That's the current fee. All right. Sorry that took me a minute, but Itzedek, thank you so much for being here and asking that. All right, so there's a question here. There's a question here that says, I filed my I-601A in December of 2023. How much more is the wait? I-601As are really, really slow. All right, like thank you for asking this question. Like I say, 3 to 4 years. So December 2023, you'd be looking at December 2026 to December of 2027 to get a response on the I-601A. Just like that's about what it is. All right. And let's see. The Naked Veritas, to the 15 people watching this, bail fast before he gets your money. He's spreading lies to get your money. Like, thank you for being here, and no, I'm not, dude. No, I'm not. What I'm telling is honest and accurate information. But so thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. All right, JAL, of all the lawyers on TikTok, you explain it the best. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. So I guess those are the questions here today. Like, thank you all very much for being here. Oh, JAL, you say, if I get a denial in Juarez at my interview, is there anything else I can do to appeal it? Okay, so the way that works is when the U.S. consulate denies a case down there, they need to give you, it's typically on a blue sheet of paper, and it says the reasons for their denial and whether or not you're eligible for a waiver. All right? If the consulate gets it wrong on the law, yes, there is a way to appeal it. We appeal to a place called LegalNet, which is a branch of the Department of State. All right, and that is possible. It's not easy to do, but it is possible. And if there is a waiver that's required, then you don't necessarily need to do the appeal process. You can move forward with the waiver. And so that's the way that works. So cool. All right, you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that we're in this situation right now with federal troops deployed in the Bay Area. Huge news. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your family. Please stay in communication. If my office can help you in any way, we are here to help. We would love to help. All right. If you are a client of my law firm, remember to please join us this afternoon, 3 p.m. for our client call. All right, completely free for our clients. We'll be talking about what to know and what you need to know. And that's all I got for today. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, my name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Best of luck to you, and we'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.